Hey Couch Cadets, it's Alex with Couch.com. So you just got your new couch delivered and you hate it. I'm sorry. It really does suck to have something delivered that you've been super excited about only to find out that it wasn't everything you were hoping for. But fear not, most stores have return policies, and even if they don't, there's usually a way to wiggle around their existing policies to find some sort of solution that will be satisfactory for you. What do you do if you hate your new couch? First things first, read the return policy. Every store has a written return policy, so study it. And sometimes these return policies can be quite dynamic and a little bit tricky. Some may call for certain kinds of fees to be incurred if you are returning something. Some may say that you can't return something, so it's best to know what you're dealing with before you contact the company so you can start the conversation in the right way. Next thing to do is figure out the return window. Every store has a different policy with regard to the return window. Some have 5 days, some have 14, 30, 60, 365. It can be a very, very different dynamic world out there when it comes to how many days you have to return something. Cross your fingers that you're still within the return window because that makes everything infinitely easier. But I've seen many returns go through that are even outside of that window, so don't worry if you are outside, it's still worth the conversation. Here's an important one. Document the issues. If your couch arrives with any imperfections, even very minor ones like a little nick or a tear, or a little scuff from delivery, or something that's going on underneath on the dust cover, that's not something that you should ignore. Document the issues, take pictures of them, and ideally write them on your delivery paperwork if you notice them before signing for the delivery. Next thing to do is contact customer service. Now this may seem obvious, but people can really procrastinate this thing. I've dealt with customers in the past that have waited like 2 months just because they had anxiety about the idea of returning something. Don't wait, ultimately it doesn't pay. Get over your fear, have a drink, take a pill if you need one, and call customer service as soon as possible. Here's an important tip, keep your original packaging. Now couches come in either huge boxes or huge gobs of plastic. You want to get those things into the recycling container as quickly as anybody. However, many stores, if not all of them, have policies that pertain to your original packaging. So make sure you keep it at all costs. If you have to stick it in a closet for a few days just to make sure that this is the perfect couch for you, do it. Something very important to keep in mind is that there will likely be some sort of return fees. Now you want to read up as much as you can on the policy surrounding this so you can be as well prepared as possible to have a conversation with customer service, whether you're doing it online or over the phone. Return fees are very necessary because, frankly, they prevent customers from just returning things willy-nilly. It's not like the apparel industry where things can be shipped back and forth with great ease. It's not Amazon. This is big pieces of furniture. They cost a lot of money to ship, even if they're not traveling a very long distance. It's very important to consider the return fees beforehand. There may be return shipping fees and restocking fees to consider as well. And sometimes these can be hundreds of dollars, or at least a very measurable percentage of the overall purchase. So something to consider before you go into the conversation so you know exactly what to expect and aren't surprised by this element. And finally, consider an exchange. Returning furniture is no good for anybody. The customer usually loses and they have nothing to sit on. The retailer loses because it costs so much money to refurbish something and then they can't sell it as new. So try to meet in the middle, make a deal with the retailer, and that deal comes in the form of making an exchange for something of equal or greater or lesser value. It doesn't really matter, but find something else from that same retailer that works for you. Most couch places will offer many different types of couches, so it's likely that you can find something that fits your style or your needs a little bit better. Like I used to say when I would run a retail store, exchange equals break even, return equals loss. So we would always try to find a way to make an exchange with the customer. Those are just some helpful tips to make your returning experience a little bit easier.